They say there's a village somewhere far, far from the main roads. A village that doesn't appear on any map. It's not on Google Maps, not in official records, not even in dusty local archives. People who live nearby, if you can even get them to speak, refuse to talk about it. They only call it one thing: the Silent Village, and anyone who enters it never returns. Our story begins with Ethan, a 24-year-old geography student. He was working on a project about abandoned settlements and loved exploring forgotten places, ghost towns, lost roads, anything with a hint of mystery. One late night, while scrolling through an old discussion forum, an anonymous message popped up. It read, "If you want to find something that truly doesn't exist, go toward the old forest road. When your GPS stops working, you're close." Seconds later, the message deleted itself. The next morning, Ethan was already in his car, armed with a camera, spare batteries, and a drone. As he drove deeper into the region described in the message, closer to the forest, things started to feel wrong. His phone signal dropped to 0. The GPS froze on a blank screen. Even though it was daytime, his car's headlights flickered on and off without reason. Eventually, the engine sputtered and died, forcing him to continue on foot. It was then he noticed Itanara's stone path, almost swallowed by the trees. It looked ancient, yet strangely well-maintained. Someone had walked this path recently. After about 30 minutes of walking, he saw it. A village. Small stone houses with wooden doors stood silently, a windmill turning slowly in the distance. It looked peaceful, but it was too peaceful. There were no animals, no children playing, not even the sound of birds, just a heavy silence that made his own heartbeat thunder in his ears. At the entrance stood a rusted sign. There was no village name, just a scratched date, 1956, and a single ominous bullet hole right through the center. He stepped inside the first house. Everything was untouched. Plates were still on the table, blankets neatly folded on the beds, a coat hanging by the door, as if the owners had just stepped out for a moment. On the wall hung a black and white family photograph, but the faces, they were gone. Not cut out, not scratched off, but erased, as if they had never existed at all. A sudden, sharp pressure built in Ethan's head, the unnerving feeling that someone was standing right behind him, watching. He spun around. No one. In the center of the village stood a deep stone well. A cold, damp breeze seeped from its dark opening. And then a voice rose from the darkness. "Turn back." It wasn't a human voice. It sounded distorted, like an old recording warped by time. Ethan instinctively lifted his camera, but the lens autofocused on something behind him. A figure. Tall, motionless, just a few feet away. He spun around, nothing there, but the smell of damp earth and old stone suddenly filled the air, thick and suffocating. At the edge of the village, he found a decaying building, a schoolhouse. Inside, rotten desks were covered in dust, and old books lay scattered on the floor. On the chalkboard, a long list of student names had been violently scraped off. On the teacher's desk, he found a brittle document. It was a closure notice. Closed on September 22nd, 1956. All students missing overnight. Village to be erased from records. There was no explanation. No list of survivors. Just silence. Pinned to the wall was a faded class photo. Every single child's face had vanished. Just then, he felt a cold breath on the back of his neck. He turned. Still nothing. As he stepped out of the schoolhouse, a sound froze him in place. Footsteps. Dozens of them, soft, slow, moving in perfect, horrifying unison. From every doorway, from every shadow, figures began to step out. They were tall, black silhouettes, completely featureless. No eyes, no mouths, no faces. They stood still at first, watching him or whatever they used instead of eyes. Then, without any warning, they started walking toward him. Not running, not rushing. Just a calm, steady, inhuman pace. Ethan ran. He sprinted back toward the woods, his heart pounding against his ribs as the sound of those synchronized footsteps followed him. They never changed their pace, never sped up, never slowed down. Just a constant, rhythmic walking, always the same distance behind him. He burst onto the main road, breathless and terrified, and suddenly his phone lit up. The signal returned. His GPS came back online. He whipped around to look back at the forest. The path he had taken was gone. Completely gone, as if it had never existed. Back in the safety of his apartment, Ethan frantically loaded the footage onto his laptop. At first, everything looked normal. The trees, the empty houses, the silent rooms. But then he reached the clip where he had filmed himself at the village entrance. In the background, behind him, stood hundreds of children. They were perfectly still, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, all of them smiling. He froze. He hadn't seen any children. He hadn't seen anyone. He tried to open another video file. An error message popped up. File not found. One by one, every single file from his trip vanished from his hard drive. Then, his phone buzzed. A single message from an unknown number. It read, "When someone finds the silent village, they must take the place of someone who was lost long ago." Attached to the message was a photo. It was the same frame from his video at the village entrance. But in this version, Ethan wasn't in it. Instead, where he had been standing, there was a faceless child, smiling, waiting. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.